Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. What's up, everybody? Big Herc Prison Talk, and it's holiday time, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We really enjoy your support, and you guys have made us one of the #1 shows on YouTube. Continue to support and subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you also check out our Instagram, our Twitter, and our Patreon, which is FreshOutSeries. And if you have any questions, hit us up at FreshOutSeries@gmail.com. Also, hit up our website, which is FreshOutSeries.com. We got some cool apparel on there. Got t-shirts, we got hats, we got yard time workout drink, man. We got it cracking. So check us out. I had a question for one of our viewers. Big Herc, I got a couple questions for you, man. A friend of mine is facing some Fed time and was wondering some things. He's never been in trouble and he served in the military. What kind of respect do other inmates have for men that served overseas? Also, say my friend goes to federal prison and someone that you knew from years back in the streets and have beef with, and they are gang affiliated and you weren't. How hard would it be to live with someone you may think is plotting on you? One man versus an entire gang doesn't sound like very good odds, but I know my buddy is down to bust some heads, but there's only so much one guy can do. And he refuses to join a gang due to the fact his family member was killed by his own gang, the AB, for reasons my buddy doesn't know. He doesn't trust anyone. What does my buddy need to do to make sure his time is as smooth as possible? Shout out to you. You did your time like a man. All love, brother, and thanks again. Okay, as far as having served in the military and the level of respect, I did time with a few guys who did time in the military, and the level of respect is across the board like anybody else. You know, most of the guys who've done time in the military carry themselves in a very dignified manner. You know, they're not selling wolf tickets. They're not, talking loud or doing a bunch of gossiping. You know, they don't have any issues. You know, the guys I met, were G's. You know, they were cool people. So there was no issues as far as, them being in the military, and they were respected. And a lot of time, guards that knew that these guys had been in the military treated them with a certain level of respect because they know that these guys have served their country, and regardless of what they got caught up for, these guys had earned their keep, per se. As far as having a beef with somebody that you had beef with years ago and now they could possibly be locked up and you might run across them, a lot of times shit like that plays out, you know what I mean? You don't really, unless there's something that's been ongoing that keeps that beef alive, it's probably not even a beef anymore. As far as like this individual trying to stir up some shit, the best thing to do is, pull that person to the side if you really think there's an issue, and just dump them. You know what I mean? Get down with the motherfucker and just say, let's squash this shit from day one. If there's a problem, let's handle it. If you ain't got no problem, you do your time, I'll do my time. But you don't want to have to be looking over your shoulders. So it's always best to confront that individual right off the rip and let them know that you ain't with the bullshit, and that if something needs to be handled, we need to handle it right now. Ain't no motherfucking, don't go get your homeboys, ain't none of that bullshit, just handle it right then. And a lot of times it can be squashed. And in certain gangs or in certain cliques, a lot of times, whoever's in that clique that has a problem with somebody that's not in that clique, they might see if that motherfucker can actually get down, so they might tell them to go and handle their business. So that individual thinking he's gonna jump someone, they might make him get down one-on-one just to see if this motherfucker is who he claims to be. So, that might be a situation too, but a lot of times if it's an old beef from like fucking when you were in high school, I mean, that shit is old, man. You grown men now, so if you run across that individual, that shit's in the past. So hopefully he won't have to worry about that. And depending on if he's in the state or federal, it could be different. State, like I always say, is a different political situation. If he committed a commercial crime or affected interstate commerce and he goes to the feds, it's a totally different crowd of individuals. So the way things are carried in the feds is not going to be the same as they're carried in the state. So all this kind of depends on what he's going to jail for or prison for and where he does his time at. As far as doing his time smooth as possible, just fly under the radar. Don't run your mouth. Keep to yourself. The less you say, the better. Don't be gossiping. Don't be sharing food, borrowing food with motherfuckers, sharing food with motherfuckers. Don't be getting high with anybody. You smoke a joint with somebody and that person owes somebody, you owe now for that debt. Don't be gambling. Always talk about that. You know what I'm saying? And don't be in there fucking with no punks. You know what I mean? Keep to yourself. If you do that, you should be cool. You shouldn't have any issues. But it's when you start getting in the mix and you sit at the table with motherfuckers that are active and you trying to throw in your 2 cents and you start telling stories and now they expect you to hang out. That's when you get caught up. If you mind your business, there's motherfuckers in there who do their time. They don't fuck around with nobody. They ain't with the bullshit. If shit kick off, they gonna handle their business. But for the most part, hey man, they run their program and motherfuckers respect that. But it's when you start, running your mouth like a little bitch and trying to talk about all this shit you did on the street and brag and tell war stories, that's when you get your motherfucking wig split. So lay low, keep to yourself, study, stay in a law library, and for the most part, you can do your time and get the fuck out. Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.